Hi guys, welcome back to Flora Fun and Food. My name is Lauren, and today I'm going to do two tutorials on friendship bracelets. One is a very simple one that I learned last week with a school function, and then the other one is something that I pulled from my childhood, you know, the lovely 90s. We used to wrap these in our hair, but the twisted knot is still a great one for friendship bracelets. So let me show you how I did them. So the first step is obviously to pick out some string colors. You really need at least 3, but you could do a lot more. 3 just works the easiest. Any less than 3, it's not going to work very well, but feel free to add more. So I have kind of a light teal, a darker teal, and a gray. Now I'm making 2 different bracelets, and so you need about 30 inches of string per bracelet. So I'm just making this easier on myself and just measuring out 60 inches of each color because I'm going to use the same color for both bracelets. So I put all the strings together, measured out my final one, and cut the ends to match. Then I tied one end of all 3 strings just to hold them all together, and the knot will give us a nice little anchor point for our clipboard. If you don't have a clipboard, you can definitely use tape. The knot is just going to help it kind of stay in place. So I stuck my knot in my clipboard, and I started twisting before realizing I hadn't cut my string in half for both bracelets, so I fixed my mistake, set it to the side for the second bracelet, and then got to work. So for this first bracelet, all you're going to do is start rolling the thread in your fingers and twisting it onto itself. You're going to twist until it starts to kind of like spring onto itself. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you roll something really tight, it starts to kind of coil up. So you're going to get right to that point where it's really, really tight and it wants to start curling back on itself. And then you know you're ready for the next step. So here I'm just kind of trimming some ends just to make it nice and even and easier. And I get the final twists in. You can see how tight these little ringlets are going to be. And then once I'm satisfied that it's nice and taut, constantly keeping pressure, kind of find the midpoint, hold the 2 ends at the top together, and let go. It will wrap up onto itself, and then you unclip it from the clipboard. And if it's a little wonky, just kind of twist it, you know, back and forth, and it'll kind of align itself. And then the bottom loop is going to be important for how we tie this. So here's the twisted together product. Then you need to tie your loose ends together at the top so that nothing unravels. And then you're going to thread that knot through your loop on the other side. And I am going to trim these just so that it looks nice and pretty. And there's no tying required onto the other side if you don't want to. You just simply open up the bottom loop, kind of just untwist it, stick your knotted end inside the loop, and then let it twist back onto itself, and the knot's not going to go anywhere. If you want it more secure, of course, you can tie it, and if it's too loose, like this one kind of is, you can always pull it through and adjust it and then just retie it. So that was the first one, super easy. Our second one requires a little bit more skill. So first step is to get some string of just something you have a lot of. I have a lot of black. And so I measured out 20 inches and looped it over onto itself about 10 times. So I have 10 strands of 20-inch long thread. And I am going to tie one end just to have an anchor point for my clipboard. We used to do these, like, we called them hair wraps back in the 90s. And so this black string here is kind of like what the hair would be if you were doing a hair wrap. But it works perfectly well for a bracelet. If you had more colors, I just had 3. If you had more colors, like if you had 10 colors, you don't need this middle kind of core piece, but mine was going to be too skinny without some kind of bulk to it. So this is going to be the inside of my bracelet. You're not going to see the black except where it ties together. And then I'm going to take my 3 colors and tie them together just so that they don't go anywhere, and then tie them to the top of my black string. So really this first step isn't 100% necessary because when you tie it to the black string, it'll kind of hold itself together, but I just wanted to be extra sure that it wasn't going to go anywhere. So just make a simple knot around the top of the black string and make sure it's nice and tight. And then you're going to kind of get all of your strings in order. So I'll show you here in just a second. Once it's tight, kind of pull on all of your strings, kind of even it out, kind of untangle it, and then you're going to pull one color thread out, leaving the rest in your left hand, or opposite if you're left hand dominant. Then you're going to take the first string, cross it over the top, pull, like stick your finger through the middle and pull the string up through it. So you're kind of going over and then under and back up through, if that makes sense. It's harder to explain, easier to watch. So I'm crossing over the top, making a knot by pulling the string through the loop. And this is going to start making little tiny knots and that are going to start twisting, and you'll see kind of the final result here at the end. But you just do this however many times you need until you get the length of bracelet you want. I switched after every 15 knots, so each section was 15 knots wide just to keep it symmetrical. So after my gray one was done, I pulled out the lighter teal and made 15 more knots and just kept pulling tight. Make sure you always keep the core in your hand very taut, or you're going to have a mess. Sorry my camera was not focused on this, but you can kind of see what I mean by the knots. So it's not too bad once you get the hang of it, and once you have a long enough bracelet, thread the loose end through your loops that you made with your core. I had to use like a threader tool because it was a mess. And then you're going to use the loose end to just tightly tie a knot and secure your bracelet, just like this. Just taking care not to let any loops happen. This is a lot of thread to kind of deal with all at once, but if you just go slow, you'll be fine. So once it's nice and secure, pull it tight. And if you want to leave kind of a frayed tassel look, don't cut off a ton of the tail, and you can fray out what's left to have a little fun flair to it. I am going to cut off this extra piece here because I didn't want just a single one on the other side. If you didn't like it, you can trim it as close as you want. It's pretty secure. And then there we go. There's our bracelet. So if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and head over to my channel to subscribe for more content like this. And I hope to see you again very soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.